Welcome back to the show. This week, we're going to be talking with Isvar Prashad. He's started $1 million plus fashion and handbag business. He's the founder and president of the Carter Bennett Group. He's done multiple startups and all kinds of things in the world of entrepreneurship. So, welcome, Isvar. I'm interested in that pivot point that we were talking about, where you say, what's going through your mind when you're deciding to abandon or uh, drastically shift, say rebrand or change product lines, like because of course this is about iterating. So but it's a balance, it's a trade-off between iterating and delusional optimism and belief in the vision. So I'm just interested in your own experience. How do you know when to uh, be flexible and adaptive, or when to lean more into resiliency and no, this is the thing? How do you find that certainty in the moment when things aren't, especially when things are not going right? When you're making tons of cash flow, there's no, it's easy, right? But
Yeah.
especially, these at these pivot moments, things presumably aren't going well. That's why you need to change, right? So,
So I'm going to tell you guys the complete truth of the matter. I've made a lot of money, but I haven't been passionate. And I think this is where the pivot comes from. Some people who are passionate about the thing they're doing, they're just passionate about it. They have a tendency to continue to iterate and pivot because they're passionate about the thing. They're not there just for the money. I've always had that different, right? I've always been about the money. And as life unfolds, you really have to focus on the money, not as a measure, but the goal. And maybe for me, too much attachment on the money had me give up on things too soon, right? But you have to have the passion for those things, right?
mm,
There's people who take business on and they're passionate about what they're doing. I would say Bill Gates was passionate about, the personal computer. He had this vision of things, and whatever problems he had, it didn't matter to him, and the money in fact wasn't his end goal. So you can see there's two different camps, and then each of them reacts differently. If you're passionate, you will keep iterating and pivoting and keep pivoting because you have a vision of how the world will look. I think his vision was having a laptop in everybody's home, a tabletop, when that didn't exist. That takes you got to see things people don't see. You got to do things people don't do, and you've got to move through things when everybody's doubting you, right? So, you know, I, I was different. Um, I mean, I still have a long road ahead of me to do other things, but necessity meant I had to look at the money and income because I had other, requirements. But when I first started, I think I was passionate about something, and then eventually you kind of look at their business model doesn't make sense, right? If you're passionate about, for me, I was making handbags, but we were making it in Montreal, Canada, and they were beautiful. And I'll give you a story. We had designed it. I designed it on my kitchen top table. We got into all the magazines, television shows. I went down to New York City, and all the major brands were there, and my bags were like center. And I had this big retailer come in, and they said they love my bags, and I said place an order, and they go, well, no, I just saw the same bags over there, and I'm like, how's that possible? I have the sketches of this bag, like. It was called a boom bag. It had cartooning on it. It was like I made it. So I'm like, how's that possible? I take 10 feet down and there's a booth and there's all of my bags on their wall. And it
oh,
was made in Korea, in fact. So I was shocked. But what happened was I had showed my line to a rep in LA. I think literally it was 2 months previously because we were prepping
Oh
for the
my God.
show. And within less than a month or two, they had knocked it off and was hanging on a wall.
wow,
Now, what I'm talking about is how do I compete with that?
wow,
And they were selling it for 1/10 the price, and
of
I'm
course.
hand making it in Montreal, Canada, with imported Italian goods. It's just not possible. The macro or the economic factors didn't align with me unless I went to China and Korea and did it, and I wasn't prepared to do that. So I got out of that business.
Wow.
Some people stayed. I mentored a bunch of people who still they iterated, they pivoted in the handbag business. Each of them have multi-million-dollar businesses now. God bless them. I helped them at the beginning, but I wasn't willing to do that. And there you go. So,
Wow, it's a great story, but
That's a
wow.
great story. Yeah.
But I think it's also all about resilience. And after that, you just make some summary and okay, next time I will do
yeah.
this in another way. And we discussed the vision of the idea, but I wonder how we can just do the real steps and get from the idea to the execution of the startup. So maybe some plan, step one, step two, step three, go.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with, I struggle with that. A lot of people
Yeah, to
struggle with
jump between
execution.
idea and execution.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't want to reference this, but let's look at the present United States government run by an entrepreneur, and everybody is completely taken aback by how he executes because entrepreneurs work with this. They shoot first and they aim later. And everybody's like, whoa, what happened? You shoot first, then you aim. And it's like, we don't think like that. So you have to have that type of personality, right? But here's the other thing. You do have to do your work, but there comes a point where you've looked at the opportunity. Because first of all, you see a business and you see an opportunity. So you say, well, I see an opportunity in the market. You do some research. You've tested a little bit. You've talked to people. You've done some research. At that point, there's nothing else to think about other than ship something, ship it. Like whatever, if it's a thought, if it's a digital product, if it's an actual product, you got to send it out there. Of course, you got to worry about other things, but the where you can't end up is continually calculate how to avoid the failure of the thing. You're gonna fail. You have to fail fast. This book's written about that. You've got to be able to like separate your emotions from it. You've got to stay positive when everybody else is crazy and telling you all kinds of crazy things. You've got to say, listen, I'm the one to make this work. And then you've got to free your brain and say, hey, what just happened here? What do I got to do? How do I move? How do I pivot? That part I've done like really well. I've always listened. And the only reason I could listen is because I was out in the market. I was actually there showing it to customers, getting feedback, understanding the market, the labor market, understanding money. Like, do I have the money for this stuff? Right? Bootstrapping, we talked a little bit. We'll jump into bootstrapping a little bit. But you got to get it out. You can't keep it in your head. There comes a point where you know it. And I'll tell you
I,
before you jump in, the point you know that you should get it out of your head is the time your head says, don't do it. No. Wait. We got to recalculate the finance. Oh, wait a second. No, maybe it won't work. Maybe that's the time to send it out there. That
Then
was
I wonder, is okay, if we have some watchers who listen this video, and I see it's two group. One group to do and then set the goal, and group B like set the goal and then do.
right.
And please leave your comment. Who are you, group A or group B? So you first do and then see, okay, this is a great goal here, opportunity. Or first of all, that measure and then go. So please leave your thoughts below.